Good morning. We are here for our third installment of Plugged In with the Murray-Callaway County Chamber. I always like to say thank you to AT&T. Hank is our third person regular on here. Michelle and I are always on with chamber stuff. Hank, you're more than welcome to join us at any one. I've kind of gotten used to you being in the screen, but we're always thankful for AT&T and all that they do for us and our sponsorships here. This morning, you're in for a real treat. We have three individuals that are going to be on this episode of Plugged In. We have Beth, we have Dan, and we have Roy, and looking forward to hear what they have to say as we enter our month of thankfulness here, as November is what it's known for. We're thankful for everybody that's been a part of our Plugged In series. We're thankful for Michelle and Haley and all that they have been doing this interesting year. I think that's what I'll leave it with as we are almost wrapping up. I think today is 44 days left if anybody is counting down in 2020, not that I am. But Michelle, I'm going to hand it over to you, but just want to thank all of you for participating, all of you that are tuning in to listening to the Plugged In event, whether it's live or recorded later. Thank you so much. So Michelle, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you so much. It's kind of interesting getting used to seeing people on squares and screens. It can feel very much like the Brady Bunch. So we need like our own little theme music, don't we? But again, want to thank everyone for tuning in. I really appreciate Jeanette, our board chair, for kicking us off this morning for our third in our Plugged In virtual event series. I know everyone is ready to get back in person. We will see when that will be, but until then, we are here virtually. Huge thank you to our sponsor for today, and that's AT&T, who has sponsored the series. We're used to seeing them in Frankfurt, and they always are very supportive when we head to the Capitol in February. Who knows what that will look like this year, but we are thankful that they partnered with us to bring this education series to our members. So I would love to turn it over to Hank really quickly just to tell us a little bit about AT&T this morning.
Oh, well, thank you, Michelle. Appreciate that. The Murray Chamber is a wonderful group to partner with. The Kentucky Chamber as well. We're big believers in chambers and chamber advocacy throughout the state. I'll just briefly mention, for those of you who may have been on this call last time, a few statistics. Over the last 3 years, AT&T has invested over $800 million in Kentucky network improvements. That's for wireless coverage, fiber optic, broadband expansion in general. So we're very proud of those ongoing efforts. We know it's a work in progress. I don't have the speed I'd like to have to my own home. So we're very keenly aware there's much more work to be done. In Callaway County, that work is translated to a new cell tower that went on the air earlier this year, and certainly hoping to see more of that activity in the coming years. And we have our fiber available pretty generally to business customers throughout the county. We also have fiber available to the home in selected subdivisions in Callaway County as well. So it's a breathless, exciting time to be in our business with the pandemic hanging over everything else. But we're very proud of our efforts that we're going to keep our nose to the grindstone on improving our Kentucky telecommunications network. Thank you for having us as a sponsor.
I think we've all seen how important connectivity is during these times, especially me as a parent of 3 small children and learning from, right now their grandparents, that connectivity and access to internet and all the mobile things is very important. So we definitely appreciate your efforts at AT&T and your commitment to Callaway County in particular. So I know everyone is here this morning to talk about workforce. That is something that affects every community across the country, and we are thankful to have some panelists here to talk about Kentucky and our region and Callaway County in particular, and talk about what are some initiatives and programs that are being created or already in development and how they're really tackling this effort. This is bigger than any one person or one group, because we know that it's a competitive market out there and the jobs are changing every single day. And so we want to make sure that our students and the future generations are being prepared for what the career paths will be in the future, and that our community has those jobs, and that we are creating sort of that pipeline and helping educate on the career path opportunities that will be available. And so we have lots of efforts going on, and so today you'll get to hear about those, and then hopefully all of our panelists can can share with our businesses on how you can participate in these things and get involved in them. So without further ado, I'm going to start and introduce Beth this morning. Beth is with the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce Workforce Center, which is very award-winning in their efforts across the nation for what they've developed. If you look on the webinar, you're going to see her full bio, and I want you to check that out because she has done some amazing things, and I'm very proud of her. But I wanted to give them more time to talk to us about what they're working on, so I would love for them to give an introduction of themselves. So Beth, I'm going to turn it over to you this morning.
Thank you so much, Michelle. It's so good to be here. Really appreciate the Murray-Callaway County Chamber for having me today. So Jeanette, Michelle, thanks for making this possible. And Hank, thank you to AT&T for sponsoring this incredible event. I can't think of another critical component of our infrastructure right now than AT&T in Kentucky. So thanks to all y'all are doing for us right now, keeping us going. All right, I'm gonna share my screen. And I think what is so interesting about this is, you know, even though I'm in Frankfurt, I work in Frankfurt. Can you guys see the full screen? I just want to make sure. Okay, perfect. I work in Frankfurt. I'm looking at the screen today, and one of the components I'm going to talk to you about, and Michelle, we didn't plan this before, but one of the programs I'll talk to you a little bit later called Bus to Business, AT&T is a part of. We've got Junior Achievement that is a part of, and we're all sharing the stage today and did not premeditate that. So I think that's just kind of a good reminder that Kentuckians really do come together from all corners of our state. So we'll talk about that exciting program for students that's available this year in just a bit. So like Michelle said, I'm with the Kentucky Chamber's Workforce Center. This screen you see now is, do you see I'm seeing two screens. I just want to make sure I'm good. Do you see a beautiful faces of my board members? You do? Okay. All right, good. I'm just making sure.
I want to get the presentation mode though, so that we don't see all the slides.
That's probably a yes. All right. Let me see. I'm going to be able to do this. So it's so funny. This black bar they put on.
Beth, just run slideshow from beginning.
Yeah. So, okay, let me see if I can put, it's interesting. Do you see it yet? Sorry,
Not yet.
y'all. You don't see it yet? I usually can, I know how to click this, but for some reason, let me try this. It's not on my side right now. Hold on, give me 1 sec. Let me stop share and see if I can get in there. And then we'll get rolling.
If it doesn't work out, it still looks.
Yeah, we can just, okay, we can go. Let me try one more thing, and if not, we'll do it the old-fashioned way where you just kind of have to see it. I've got 2 slides going, so I think that's not helping. 2 screens going. All right, let me try it again, and then we'll move from there. And if it doesn't work, we'll keep things going. You gotta love technology in this day and age. Do you see a full screen yet? Nope, we're gonna keep going if that's all right. Can you see the slides? Can you see the slide? Okay, so this is my board. All of our leaders from all across Kentucky that lead our efforts here in our state for the Kentucky Chamber's Workforce Center. They're business leaders, Kentucky Chamber members that come from the far eastern part of our states in Pikeville to the far western part of our states, from all the way to Paducah. Before we talk a little bit about what programs there are that are free to get involved with, I want to kind of see what we're seeing from a state level in terms of the impacts of the pandemic on the workforce. Kentucky has been hit harder than most states when it comes to unemployment claims. We have the most unemployment claims in the entire country. And then when it comes to having jobs that are vulnerable, which means these jobs might not come back, Kentucky is incredibly at risk. We're actually top 4 in the country when it comes to the state with the most unemployment claims and the most at-risk jobs. And so the Kentucky, we've been hit pretty bad by the pandemic. And in fact, before we walked into the pandemic, we were 40th in the nation for workforce participation. And what that means is, let me just do a slide check. Can you guys see a map? Do you see that? Okay, I'm going to keep rolling. So what that means is when your workforce participation is the amount of citizens that you have that are able-bodied, can be working, and are actively working in our workforce. So pre-pandemic, we had 40th in the nation. Not the best number, but it had been improving, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But 40th in the nation. Post-pandemic, and right now we're 49th in the country for workforce participation, which means we have citizens that could be working, but they're not actively in a job search. So they've kind of exited the workforce and are no longer working. What this means is, since March, we have over 250,000 Kentuckians that have left and exited the workforce. The scarier part of that number is, in Kentucky and all across the nation, when we see unemployment go up by 1%, the opioid overdose death rate will go up by 3.6%. Meaning there's a big correlation and connection to retaining and working to staying sober and keeping in recovery. And when jobs are lost, we see those that suffer from substance use disorder, they end up going back oftentimes back on the substance and can overdose, which is incredibly sad and dangerous. But we've been here before, and I kind of want to shine this light. Back in 2017, the Kentucky Chamber, a lot of local chambers really sounded the alarm on workforce participation. We can't forget we were just in the height of an economic boom before the pandemic, and we needed every single citizen on the bench and working. And it's kind of a natural place and time of where we're at. We have less kids than we used to. We have a shrinking workforce. We have a smaller available workforce. And so what that does is it puts stress that you need every single one of your citizens active and working in the workplace. So back in 2017, when we sounded the alarm and said, we're 47th, this is not good. It took us, a couple years, but we got up to 40th. So 250,000 more people in Kentucky, we got back in the workplace, actively giving to their economy and working with their employers. So I do want to put that note out that even though it looks pretty bleak right now at 49th, we have been here before. We have clawed our ways out of this before. And there's a couple ways that we can do that, and I want to talk to you about that now. It's interesting. We have so many people exiting the workforce right now, the 250,000, but what we see all across Kentucky is there's a lot of employers that are hiring and they need people badly. You're seeing the 4, help wanted signs in the windows. And while you have some businesses that have, stepped up and done the right thing, had to shut down in the midst of the pandemic to keep people safe, there's other industries that are surging and they need people badly. Back in April, we popped up a website on a Google Doc forms with the help of some of our team and said, okay, well, who's hiring? The first day of the shutdown in Kentucky, we saw 14,000 people lose their jobs. And that was day 2. And we said, gosh, this is going to get real bad. But then you kept hearing of these other industries that were really in need. So we said, well, then who's hiring from those industries? And we popped up this campaign. And since April, we've gotten over 91,000 positions posted to this site. And I want to point out that all these positions are very searchable by your county and by your region of the state, but 91,000 jobs that are posted to a Google Doc site. I want to put that in perspective because before we went into the pandemic, the state's website, which is much nicer web portal that collects all the jobs, on any given day on that site, we had about 150,000 jobs open. So even on a fancy state site, we've got our Google Doc site with 90,000 positions. We're not that too far behind that. We see from all kind of economic projections that Kentucky is in the middle of a short-term, hopefully a short-lived recession, but our employers still really need people. And I think what we can't forget is coming out of this, we're going to need people more than ever. There's a lot. We're seeing people retire at alarming rates than we did before the pandemic. People are tired. They're ready to kind of hang it up after COVID. And so we're going to need every Kentuckian back and actively working in the workplace. So this is just a slide to show you that the web page itself has had over 50,000 web hits, job seekers. So if you are an employer, you have a job to post, this is a completely free website. It's gotten over 50,000 positions. It is searchable. We just got an artificial intelligent robot on the site, or the pink unicorn Ulimi here can help you search jobs by, by position title, by region, by keywords. We call her Heidi Hires, and she's helped over 800 Kentuckians apply for jobs directly. So when we look at workforce participation, the Kentucky Chamber has convened a task force of leaders. This is our workforce recovery task force. It really focuses on helping to combat substance use disorder in the workplace and give fair chances for individuals that are coming out of incarceration. These are two key elements of increasing workforce participation in Kentucky. In Kentucky is what we find is we have double the national average when it comes to overdose death rates. We incarcerate more citizens than other states, and not for nonviolent, low-level criminal offenses, more drug-related offenses. And then once we incarcerate, we tend to recidivate more than other states. We send them back. And what we found is that the connection to career for both those that suffer from substance use disorder and from staying out of jail is that connection to job. And we can't forget, we need these individuals and all Kentuckians off the bench and actively working in Kentucky to really help our economy. So recently, a couple months ago, we kicked up what is called the Kentucky Comeback Campaign, really understanding that workforce participation is decreasing at too alarming of a rate. We're going to have all those jobs post-pandemic. We have them now, and we need these individuals to come back into the workplace. They deserve a fair chance. And what we believe is that the ultimate game of recovery or coming out of incarceration shouldn't just be getting sober. It shouldn't just be coming out of jail. It should be a meaningful return to work. But employers need tools and help to help make those connections and to help welcome in areas where they're able to. So we took the Who's Hiring website and said, okay, we've got 90,000 positions. How many of those positions, how many of those employers would be able to give a second chance, or what we like to call a fair chance, for returning citizens coming out of incarceration? And in the last 3 months, we have recruited over 6,300 positions that are for fair chance individuals that are coming out of incarceration. Again, though, that's free to search, free to post those positions. So if you're an employer, post those positions. If you can give a fair chance, click that box on the website. It'll let you separate out if it's a misdemeanor that you can look past, if it's a felony and a felony type level that you can look past, so that you can make those decisions that also align with your company policies. In addition to having the website to post positions for free and to find work or find talent, we have what is called the Kentucky Comeback Employer Resource Guide. This is filled with the A to Z ins and outs of how you use your benefits in the workplace, how you look at your HR policies in the workplace to modernize them to help treat, prevent, recover, and help become a fair chance employer in the workplace. And we know business leaders are busy. We need you in your workplace working, and time is always limited. So this is really kind of a Cliff's Notes version. It has already created policies within them. So if you were going to have a last chance agreement, you can pull it off this site as an HR policy. As an HR professional, you can pull these policies off your site, have them edit, copy, paste, use them as they're your own. Of course, we always advise you use legal reviews whenever you're looking at HR policies, but very copy, very paste type of documents that are all yours and at no cost. We believe in criminal justice reform very much, just like many local chambers across the state in our state chamber. And so a few calls to action to think about. If you believe in criminal justice reform and you want to consider legislation that'll be coming up this January and in the years ahead, to really think about rehabilitating citizens, getting them out of jail and back into the workplace, we're going to be pulling up different bills that have that opportunity this upcoming session. And so if you want to be part of a grassroots effort to call your legislators. Michelle knows, just like we do, that there's nothing a legislator likes to hear for more than their constituents within their communities. And so when we push out different bills for second chance hiring, for recovery coming out of incarceration that are being considered as laws, if you are part of this Kentucky Comeback Network, we will ping you via text, let you know what the bill is, and let you consider calling your legislator if that's something you're in support of. So very easy to join the Kentucky Comeback Network, be a part of this this movement to help all have hope, healing, and a fair chance in our state. Do it by checking out KentuckyComeback.com or text KY Comeback to 52886. And join that network. All those tools and resources for the employer resource guide and the Who's Hiring site are also on that Kentucky Comeback webpage. So now we're going to move over to students and how they impact our workforce participation. Kentucky's really coming together this year on a program that we call Bus to Business. The Kentucky Chamber Workforce Center Board, this is kind of their baby. They created Bus to Business in a brainstorming session about a year and a half ago with our board in a board meeting. We had 20 minutes to brainstorm on what we could do with a little bit of a surplus of a budget that we had left. And we just asked our board members, what do you want to do with it? Our board members, these business leaders, stood up pretty quick and said, we need to help students. We're losing them at alarming rates. They're getting out of high school. They're really not connected to the careers of today and to the job pathways in Kentucky. And in fact, we had studied that. In Kentucky, about 7 years after high school graduation, from that graduating class in Kentucky, 40,000 of those students, 7 years later, every year, 40,000 students, 7 years after graduation, will not be connected to a career. They will not be connected to any kind of post-secondary credential or degree or certification, and they're actively not working in the workplace. That's our entire generation. And so as business leaders, we have a huge role to play to work with our K through 12 system, to show up as employers and be a part of the future of our workforce. I've been in HR, I've been in education. I know what it was like to be in HR and sit down and look out my window and wonder where my workforce was. And that's not enough. I've been in education when we would wait until it was too late to get children exposed to these opportunities. And so our board really came up, and one goal we had is that schools can't pay for anything else that we ask them to do with this. Their budgets are constrained enough. Anything we do with Bus to Business, we want to be able to support the schools and not charge them a dime. And so we had some really incredible sponsors come on board. We have AT&T, so that's what we were just kind of saying, Hank, that this is so serendipitous. We're on a panel together. And we also have Kentucky SHRM, which is the Kentucky Society of Human Resource Management, have came in together with us in a partnership to sponsor the program this year. And so far, we launched the program 3 weeks ago. We have 55 employers across the state that are inviting students in virtually. Because of the pandemic, this is a completely virtual program this year. Last year, we did actual field trips and a pilot on one day. But this year, it's all virtual due to COVID. Understanding that students are doing their best just to stay in class. Doing field trips this year is probably not going to be feasible. But what it's giving us is the opportunity to do more all year round. And so this year already, in the last 3 months, we have signed, since the program launched in 3 weeks, we have signed up over 13,000 students from across the state that are participating in Bus to Business. We have Workforce Wednesdays where we have these live sessions where students can tune in virtually, go on tours of businesses of Kentucky, talk about the different career pathways, understand what it's like to be in those positions, the education that's required for those positions. And so that's something we're really proud of. We're pumped. I'm also excited. Dan Douglas is on here. We're helping and partnering together with Junior Achievement. And I know he'll talk about that in just a minute with what all Junior Achievement is up to, but we're really working to get more businesses to them. Basically, we just want businesses and students engaged this year as much as possible. And so what that looks like across the state in the last 3 weeks is that we have gotten the yellow are where schools are now signed up and participating, and the blue stars are where businesses are. So this is, a completely free program. It's actually, because it's not a field trip program, it's a light lift for businesses, but we want all businesses across the state participating with students this year. It's going to run up until the end of the school year in May. So if you're interested, head to KentuckyChamber.com, bus to business, and sign up and join us. And if you're a school, we will not put any of this cost on you. You will have access to all the tools and resources throughout the year. So in addition to these live events that we have on Workforce Wednesdays, which is a couple Wednesdays a month, we also push this and disseminate this type of information out to the classrooms. So we talk about a different critical job every single week, the education that's required to have that job. We feature a different employer. This week it's CDG, and we're talking about aircraft maintenance positions. And you can see the different salary levels and the education that's required to be in this position if you're in high school. And this program is offered to all middle schools and high schools across the state. So last but certainly not least, as Michelle talked about, was our talent pipeline management position. And this is a program that is all across the state. Brittany Dawson is what we call a project manager, and she is in your region of Green River, West Kentucky, and South Central. And she works with employers there to really fess out and determine what their demand is, and then builds talent pipelines based on the needs of business. It's a model that has been in workforce not for very long. We talk about business driven a lot, but these are truly business leaders that are sitting around the table and working on identifying the gaps in their workforce, the critical positions that they have to fill, how many of those jobs they have to fill, and then they work with partners across the state to fill those pipelines. And so we work a lot in Western Kentucky with your Workforce Investment Board, with your local community colleges, to really bring the supplies and the resources together based on the needs of the employer. And so coming up in your region, this is another free event, but on December 9th, what we've heard a lot from our employers in the talent pipeline management right now is that mental wellness in the workplace is huge. And finding tricks to kind of take care of employees during this time is really important. And so this Are You OK presentation will be held on Zoom on December 9th at 10:30 Central, and will be hosted by Brittany Dawson, and will help give all those tips and tricks and resources from professionals and leaders in this space on how to take care of employees in the workplace. So I will stop there. Michelle was trying to watch my time, so I hope I did okay. Thank you very much for having me, and I look forward to staying on.
Thank you so much for that presentation. I took lots of notes, and there's lots of awesome information in there that we can definitely share with our chamber members. The webinar you just shared, we'll definitely share, because I've heard them share their stories before. And in Murray and Callaway County, we have a lot of small businesses, so we don't have a lot of companies with these large HR groups. And so if we can host or get HR information in front of some of our smaller businesses, in helping some of these come back, conversations and some of the things that you were sharing about rehabilitating and getting people back in the workforce, that is a great thing to listen to, because they have a lot of wonderful information for maybe a business who doesn't have, this large HR department, or someone, a professional who's running that. And so we'll definitely connect our members to that. And of course, the Buzz to Business we've been a part of, I think last year when it was in person. And so we look forward to that program expanding as well. And so thank you for all your work that you're doing, and we really appreciate you being here this morning. So I am going to now move on to Junior Achievement, which Dan has been with Junior Achievement for a while, and I'll let him share about his experience. But we love Junior Achievement here at the Chamber. I'll even I go into the school some and teach some of the classes as well. It's very easy. The curriculum is all mapped out. You just have to go handle some middle schoolers for a little bit and teach them about career path opportunities, which was my curriculum that day, the last one that I taught. So I know there's a lot more curriculum out there and a lot more programs at all grade levels. So I'm now going to pass it over to Dan to introduce himself and share about Junior Achievement.
Thanks, Michelle. Thanks for being a great JA volunteer for us. Beth, I think my presentation is going to be very complimentary to all the things that you shared. Hank, it's good to see you again. Thanks for all that AT&T is doing. And Michelle, Jeanette, thanks for the invite to be with you today. I will start sharing my screen as well right now. And hopefully you see the PowerPoint presentation. Now, I'll see that okay? Yes, great, great. But it won't move. There we go. So Junior Achievement has been around for a long time. We celebrated our 100th anniversary in 2019. Here in West Kentucky, it's been around for about 50 years in our area. Our three pillars that all the JA programs focus on are entrepreneurship, financial literacy, and work and career readiness. You can see as part of those pillars, we're an organization that teaches citizenship, economics, business, ethics, and character. Our workspace, if you will, is definitely in youth development, economic development, and education development. We like to say that we're the bridge between the business sector and the education sector. We represent the interest of business in better preparing your future workforce. So across the United States, we're serving over 4 million students annually. Here in Kentucky, there's 5 JA areas that are serving all of Kentucky. And collectively, we're serving close to 125,000 young Kentuckians, K through 12th grade. Beth mentioned the importance of preparing kids at a very early age for those expectations, not only to improve themselves, but to help our local businesses and economy. So JA programs are driven down as early as kindergarten, setting those important learning goals for kids very early, the importance of saving, putting in a good day's work, ethics, etc. To kind of carve that down here in West Kentucky, for the last whole school year that we enjoyed, 18 and 19 school year, JA of West Kentucky served over 21,000 students. You can kind of see our section of Kentucky there on the map. 61% of all the students that we serve are considered low income, at-risk students. We've got one of the lowest operating costs of any JA area or youth serving organization in the Commonwealth and in the nation. Our cost is $20 per student that we impact. And last year, nearly 119,000 volunteer hours from great volunteers like Michelle and others throughout West Kentucky, volunteering to give up their time in the classroom. So back to school obviously looks different now. And Junior Achievement has really re-engineered, reimagined all of our programs to exist, whether kids are in school, whether they're a hybrid model, or whether, as we're seeing, a lot of our schools have to go back to all virtual. So we've re-engineered our programs to be able to exist no matter what format the schools and classes look like. So many of our volunteers this summer recorded themselves teaching the JA programs. And we're now providing those links or providing those videos to our teachers so the kids can still get that human face teaching the important concepts of the lessons. And then the teachers either using digital materials that JA has created or physical kits, if they are lucky enough to see kids in their classroom, are doing the follow-up activities to engage students in their learning. As far as Murray and Callaway County, you can see on the slide here that we took a dip last year. School unexpectedly ceased back in the spring, as you know, and many of our programs were scheduled in the spring. So only 20 classrooms last year in Murray and Callaway schools, serving 527 students. You can see how that compared to 18, 19, 17, 18, 16, 17. But we're really excited this year that we are projected to serve 52 classrooms throughout Murray, Callaway County schools to serve 1,340 students. And a big part of that is the new JA Virtual Inspire Career Fair. So we have partnered with a virtual platform called vFairs to bring a virtual convention center to over 17,000 students throughout Kentucky. And it happens tomorrow and Thursday. It's a virtual career fair. You'll see this is the outside. It will be animated. It'll very much be in kids' world. This is targeted at 8th to 12th graders. So, you know, many of the avatars that they have in their video games, they'll have an avatar. They can walk in from the outside to the convention center and enter into the inside of the convention center. It's sponsored by U.S. Bank, and you see our other sponsors there. There will be a virtual auditorium, and there will be a virtual exhibit hall where kids can peruse 66 different Kentucky employers, find out about jobs in their industry, what education is needed, what most kids want to know, how much do these jobs pay, and you know, what do I need to do if I'm interested in that particular career field. In the auditorium, there'll be 10 different webinars that kids will be able to watch on a variety of financial literacy or work readiness topics, how to buy a first car, the importance of saving for a rainy day, the importance of essential skills when you're interviewing for jobs and keeping a job. This is the auditorium. So they'll just be able to click on that center screen and have a selection of 10 different webinars. At the top of the screen, and I would invite anybody who would like to check this out, and a big shout out to Beth and the Kentucky Chamber for making this their November Bus to Business event, and as well as helping us intersect and get the word out to Kentucky employers to sign up to be exhibitors. This is a wonderful opportunity for employers to help build their future pipeline of needed workers by exposing kids to maybe jobs that they would have never thought of before. So tomorrow and Thursday, if you go to jainspire.vfairs.com and click on the login information and put JAVIP at ja.org, you'll be able to see exactly what the kids see, what they will experience, and get a taste and a flavor of what a virtual career fair for 16,000, 17,000 students looks like. The exhibit hall will be separated and organized by different industry clusters. So you can see there healthcare and life sciences, hospitality, marketing. We've taken the 16 Department of Labor career clusters and organized them into 8 different exhibit halls that kids will be able to peruse different careers, different employers within those fields. So just a little advertisement for tomorrow and Thursday with our partnership with the Kentucky Chamber and the JA Inspire virtual event. Who supports junior achievement? We like to say again that we are the business community's nonprofit representing your interest in education. So no surprise that about 57% of our funds comes from the local business community. All of our money stays local. So even though we're in 14 different Kentucky counties, money raised in Callaway County goes to fund Callaway County programs for Callaway and Murray students. In Breckinridge County, the same thing, that Breckinridge County money stays local. We aren't a United Way agency. We don't receive state or federal dollars or United Way dollars, and we also don't charge the schools as well. So we are dependent on the local business community helping us better prepare your workforce. So why JA? And this is going to be complementary to a lot of the things that we heard from Beth. Even before COVID, 58% of Americans had less than $1,000 in saving. Before COVID, 78% of Americans lived paycheck to paycheck. 42% of the jobs lost during the COVID shutdown aren't expected to return. I think Beth had a very similar statistic for Kentucky. Many of our small businesses that perhaps closed in response to COVID-19 are at a great risk of not surviving long-term with maybe continued shutdowns. So Beth, I've been snooping on your website, and this is actually from 2018, but I think these numbers are still very poignant in terms of what we're seeing. I think you said this, on any given day, there's about 150,000 unfilled and open jobs across Kentucky. 71% of Kentuckians are unhappy in their jobs. 31% of college grads never work in their field of study. Beth, I think you updated us. Kentucky right now is 49th in workforce participation. So that's Beth's got a more accurate number there, timely number. The rest of this slide really is complimentary of what Beth has already shared with us, that Kentucky employers have jobs available and are poised, at least before COVID, to ramp up their operations, but they're having trouble finding that skilled workforce that they need to be successful. And that bottom bullet point there, essential skills continues to be a major problem of finding folks that want to work, that if they show up one day, will show up the next day, will have the essential skills and the skill sets that they need to be successful employees for that business. As far as the area of entrepreneurship, another one of JA's pillars, we are not starting businesses at the same rate that we used to a generation ago, half the rate. Business startups are responsible for 20% of our job creation, but less and less kids are interested in owning their own business one day. So as Beth talked about the importance of all Kentuckians contributing to our economy, it's going to be important since we rely so much on small business that we keep small business strong and keep the new generation wanting to be business owners and have that entrepreneurial spirit. I've already kind of talked about the financial literacy. I thought this was, I just couldn't believe this statistic. 40% of our citizens cannot cover an emergency expense of $400 without selling something or borrowing money. So there's a great need for junior achievement right now to better prepare our young people to handle their own finances and to be that skilled workforce that we need. Our Kentucky legislature has also seen that in making a mandate for essential skills legislation and financial literacy legislation that has went into effect last year and this year. We recently did a survey, Michelle, of our teenagers this summer, and the new survey showed that, as you might expect, teens are very concerned about their future given the current state of the world with the pandemic. Nearly 50% shared that they were afraid that the quality of their education would suffer due to the pandemic. Many of our teens are worried about not being able to find a future job that will pay a living wage, having to borrow too much money for college. So JA is all about preparing our local children, our Kentucky children, for life after the school bell. JA works. Kids who have had JA and are now adults are 143% more likely to own their own business. They believe in the U.S. economic system. They credit junior achievement for learning how business works. 1 in 3 credit JA for influencing their career decision. If you thought about volunteering for JA, the newest statistic out is that 1 in 5 of our kids end up working in the same field as their JA volunteer. Educational attainment, I'm going through this quickly as I'm running out of time. Generally, there's a higher income among JA alumni than the general population. And I thought you might just like to see it from the kids. This student enjoyed it because it helped them understand what life is like for their mom and dad. Another student learned that to have money in order to be successful, you need good credit to be able to buy things and stay on budget. I think this next one is my favorite. This student learned that kids cost a lot, which is true. Another student at school, it's math, reading, social studies, but junior achievement's different because it's not a subject, it's real life. And I think that speaks to what JA really tries to do, is take everything that they're learning at school and apply that to how that's going to affect them for the rest of their life. So we would love for you to be involved in junior achievement in Murray and Callaway County. If you're listening to this, watching this, we would love to have you as a volunteer. We need more business people on our local board there. So if there's interest in helping us direct what JA looks like for your community, we would love to have you on the board. And every little bit helps. $20 will support one more student receiving our programs in Callaway County. $500 would sponsor a whole classroom. 5,000 sponsors an entire school. We started Project Tomorrows because tomorrow needs us today. Our kids need us today. And I appreciate the chamber being part of this. I appreciate Beth and the state chamber's involvement with JA. It's going to take all of us to better prepare these young people so they have a well-fulfilled life, and that they're also that strong next generation employment that we need for our businesses. So thanks for the time. Sorry if I went over.
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate that. So if anyone in today participating didn't know what junior achievement was, now you know how to get involved and how to be a part of it as a business. So in light of time, we're going to move on to Roy this morning. Thank you for being with us. And Roy is owner of Peel and Holland and has gotten together with a local group of business leaders to take all of this information and really bring it and kind of concentrate our effort on Callaway County. And the chamber gets to be a part of that conversation. And we're excited today to introduce Murray Works to our listeners. And so Roy, with that, I'm just gonna turn it over to you.
Thanks, Michelle. Appreciate it. And thanks, Haley, for your help and the ability for me to represent Murray Works today. I'm going to give you a little bit of background on Murray Works, but want to thank Beth and Dan for your presentations today. Great stuff, and it's great information, especially for me. I took a lot of notes on how we can continue to connect what you all are doing here in Callaway County. And Hank, thanks again for the sponsorship. These things don't happen without sponsors, so we appreciate that. So just who is Murray Works? Well, Murray Works is just simply a group of local business leaders who got together about 2 years ago, really originally just focusing on general business discussions, business-related issues. And as we met 3 or 4 times, we began to focus our conversations around a common theme about a challenge that we all have as our future workforce. Surprise, surprise, with today's topic, right? But also, what can we do as local business leaders to help keep our young adults here in Callaway County in West Kentucky? We see a lot of talent that grows up, gets educated, and leaves the area. What can we do to retain as much of that talent as possible? So we had a group of local business leaders that were just passionate about this issue. It's Aaron Dale at CFSB, Heidi Schultz at Independence Bank, John McConnell at McConnell Insurance, Jerry Penner at Murray Callaway County Hospital, Sasha Grogan from Pella, myself from Peel and Holland, Mike Daniel from Sportable Scoreboards, and Bob Hargrove from the Murray Bank. Each one of these businesses are not only investing their time on a monthly basis on this initiative, but also putting their money where their mouth is to help fund the initiatives and help fund our why as an organization, which I'll touch on in just a second. In addition to the businesses, we've got active participation by our 2 schools, our 2 K through 12 schools, with Whitney York from Murray Independent Schools and Tanya Hunter from Callaway County Schools, Matt Purdy representing Murray State University, and Michelle and Haley as Murray Callaway County Chamber have been actively involved as well. So when we talk about Murray Works and we talk about our why, what is our mission? What is our why as an organization? And it really is simply to help high school students in Callaway County see a vision where they can stay here in Callaway or in West Kentucky if they choose, and meet their career goals and quickly become a productive member of our workforce. So when we talk about, how do we accomplish that why? Beth, you mentioned in your presentation, are we connecting our young people to the careers that are available today? And that's one of our goals is to help show our middle school and high school students what careers, what's possible right here in Callaway County. So our goal and our how that we're going to accomplish that why is creating that visibility and understanding about what are our primary career sectors here in Callaway and what are those future job opportunities and the pathways to achieve those here in Callaway. When we did our research, we identified 7 primary career sectors in Callaway County that have the most jobs. That's healthcare, manufacturing, construction, public services, education, agricultural, and then the professional kind of catch-all for a lot of our local service businesses. So what we've done is done some research on each one of these career sectors. We've assigned a working group that's doing the legwork to determine what are the opportunities that are there today. What do we project that workforce need to be over the next few years? And then also focusing on what are the educational requirements for that career path? What are the compensation ranges based on each one of those types of careers? And again, those number of future job openings. And so our goal is, now that we have collected this information, is communicate this and share this with our local students in a format that is appealing to those students, right? And the way that I like to consume information, no offense, Michelle, even though you're younger than me, the way you consume information is different than the way your kids are going to consume the information. So we're trying to put that out in the format that they will consume and also their parents will consume, because it's important that they understand what those career opportunities are. In addition to that, we're creating videos about a lot of these careers so that we have people that are actually doing those jobs here in Callaway County with real short real short videos about that career, what it's meant to them. So again, it's to bring visibility to each one of these kids about what can I do right here in Callaway County that might be of interest to me. So we're partnering with our local schools around this initiative. We're helping them in their career preparedness efforts. I think Dan mentioned the state legislature making some changes around essential skills or soft skills. We've been partnering with our schools on that initiative as well that I'll talk about here in just a second. And we also stepped out and we actually hired a retired superintendent, Kim Dublin, recently retired as Graves County superintendent. We hired her to lead our charge for Murray Works. So we appreciate the ability to partner with Murray Independent, with Callaway County, with Murray State, and with Kim now on what can we do as a business community to connect in with our educators. So, I mentioned our why, our how. Well, what is it that we're doing? Well, again, we've created that visibility in the top career sectors. What are those jobs within each sector? Well, we are now communicating that through the schools. We had a really good start on that last fall and through the winter. And as everybody knows, school has been very different since spring. And certainly it's going to be very different this entire school year. But even through that, we're partnering in virtual ways. It's that we can bring this information to the students and through the teachers into their classrooms. We're also, I mentioned, partnering with our schools on soft skills development or those essential skills that our high school students need. This strategy is really being led by our schools. It's one of the mandates coming out of the legislature, but what we're able to do is we created, actually as Murray Works, a list of where we see the deficiencies in these essential skills in the workforce today. We brought that back to our schools and brought them a list of what we feel like it is and our thoughts on how we can start to address that. And we're partnering with our schools, whether it's presentations in the virtual world today where we're having these conversations, other strategies as they are implementing what we're being as a resource to our schools that are again connecting here in our business community. One of our other hows is teacher engagement. This is something Michelle has worked on a lot and been slowed down a little bit because of the environment we're in, but we're looking at what can we do to connect educators and the business community together. Really modeling that after Leadership Murray that Michelle's led for many years, but what can we do to bring the teachers into that environment and give them the exposure of what does the business world look like for today and what are our needs going to be in the future. So we've also partnered with the family resource centers that are charged in each one of our schools on doing their career engagement. So again, with that resource that can connect the schools with what's actually happening here in Callaway County. If I had time today, I would show you some of the information that we put together in each one of our job sectors. Don't have that time today, but what I will say is that as Murray Works, we are simply, again, just a group of local businesses that are interested in workforce development, but specifically about what can we do to keep these kids that are growing up here in Callaway County, what can we do to keep them here in Callaway County if that's what they want to do, and show them just all the great opportunities that are here for not only today, but in the future, because, you know, it's been mentioned that whether you call it the brain drain, you know, the boomers that are aging out, whether it's the pandemic impact, that there are a lot of needs that our local business community has for future employment that we just see a deficit in of our ability to fill that. So our goal at Murray Works is just to bring that visibility and try to make a positive impact on it. And as we do that, if there are other businesses here in Murray or Callaway that are interested in helping with this, volunteering with it, getting involved with it, reach out to me. This is not an exclusive club by any means, just a group that somehow ended up together and has been passionate about it. You know, Beth, we look forward to continuing to partner with the Kentucky Chamber through our local Murray Chamber. And Dan, I personally have not been as understanding about junior achievement, but I can see how this will dovetail great with what we're doing here at Murray Works. So, Michelle, I didn't leave you a lot of time, but with that, I'll just say Murray Works is here to help, and love that opportunity. And thanks for the chance to present, Michelle.
Thank you so much. I don't really need a lot of time. So today was all about you three, and appreciate your information that you shared. And kind of like Roy said, you know, we work really closely with Murray Works and Junior Achievement and the Kentucky Chamber, and it really is bigger than any one group. And so there are so many different efforts that can be done. It really takes a lot of people working together, and it's nice to see in a panel like this, the puzzle sort of all kind of come together. And there are a few programs that we were wanting to launch in 2020 that we're trying to figure out, again, how to make those virtual in the future. But our LIFT, our teacher program, the Leadership Initiative for Teachers, is something that we had planned to launch this year. And a lot of the schools, you know, maybe looking at doing that virtually in 2021. Really getting our teachers, our administrators in our schools into the workforce to see what jobs there are, so they can go back and better prepare students for that, and then connect them to see what those jobs are like locally. We partnered with TVA and our local economic development corporation on a pilot program for remote job opportunities. So there are lots of workforce initiatives going on in our community. And so today I was just thankful that we could share with our businesses what's going on and how they can be a part of it on a state level, regional level, local level. There are a lot of things going on, because this is probably one of the most critical conversations communities can be having right now across the country. So I just want to thank all of you today for being a part of our panel. Definitely thank you to Hank. We really appreciate AT&T support, and we look forward to our next Plugged In event on December 1st as we talk about economic development and entrepreneurship. We hope that you can join us. Again, thanks, Jeanette, our board chair, for being with us today, and we just hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
See you guys.